What if you could win over anyone, friends, colleagues, even strangers, with ease? What if you could influence others not through force, but through connection and understanding? Dale Carnegie's timeless classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is a masterclass in human relations. In this summary, you'll learn practical strategies to improve your communication, build strong relationships, and influence people positively. Stay tuned for life-changing principles that have stood the test of time. Part 1. Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. Carnegie begins by addressing the basics: how to connect with others and handle them with grace. Here are the 3 foundational principles. The first principle, don't criticize, condemn, or complain, emphasizes avoiding negativity, which often makes others defensive. Instead, try to understand their perspective and offer constructive feedback. For example, a manager who reframes an employee's mistake as a learning opportunity fosters collaboration and growth. Carnegie cites examples of leaders who build morale by focusing on solutions rather than assigning blame. The key takeaway is that empathy and positivity strengthen relationships, creating an environment of trust and improvement. The second principle, give honest and sincere appreciation, highlights the motivational power of genuine praise. Recognizing someone's efforts, like complimenting a colleague's hard work on a project, builds loyalty and inspires excellence. Carnegie stresses that insincere flattery will backfire, so praise must be heartfelt. When people feel valued, their commitment and enthusiasm grow, which ultimately benefits both personal and professional relationships. The third principle, arouse in the other person an eager want, focuses on aligning your goals with others' interests. For instance, a sales professional who explains how their product saves the customer time fosters mutual enthusiasm. Carnegie illustrates how understanding someone's needs and framing your message accordingly leads to cooperation. The takeaway is that presenting ideas in terms of shared benefits encourages collaboration and success. Part 2. 6 ways to make people like you. Next, Carnegie reveals how to build rapport and make lasting connections. These 6 principles will transform how you interact with others. The first principle, become genuinely interested in other people, teaches the value of curiosity. Asking open-ended questions like, what inspired you to start this project, helps others open up and feel valued. Carnegie recounts how even the busiest professionals can find time to show interest in others, leaving a lasting impression. The takeaway is that showing sincere interest creates meaningful connections and makes you memorable. The second principle, smile, reminds us that this simple gesture conveys warmth and friendliness. Carnegie shares stories of how a smile resolved workplace tension, proving its impact. He emphasizes that a genuine smile communicates confidence and approachability. The key takeaway is that a smile is a small action with big results in building trust and breaking down barriers. The third principle, remember that a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest sound in any language, emphasizes the importance of attentiveness. Using someone's name, such as saying, "Great job, Sarah," personalizes interactions and shows respect. Carnegie explains that remembering names demonstrates care and attention, fostering goodwill. The lesson is that remembering and using names strengthens connections and makes others feel significant. The fourth principle, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves stresses active listening. Asking follow-up questions like, "That's fascinating, can you tell me more?" demonstrates genuine interest and builds trust.
Carnegie notes that many people simply wait for their turn to speak, but true listening stands out. The takeaway is that listening is a powerful way to connect, as it makes others feel understood and appreciated. The fifth principle, talk in terms of the other person's interests, focuses on finding common ground. Mentioning topics the other person is passionate about, such as sports or hobbies, deepens rapport. Carnegie suggests tailoring conversations to the other person's priorities and concerns to create mutual enjoyment. The lesson is that shared interests and thoughtful engagement make interactions more engaging and productive. The sixth principle, make the other person feel important and do it sincerely, highlights the universal desire for recognition. Saying, "I couldn't have done this without your insights," validates others' contributions. Carnegie warns against empty platitudes, stressing that sincerity is key. The takeaway is that genuine acknowledgement fosters strong relationships and boosts confidence in others.
Part 3. How to win people to your way of thinking. Now, let's dive into persuasion. Carnegie provides 12 principles for influencing others without conflict. Here are the highlights. The first principle: the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Advises seeking common ground instead of engaging in conflicts. For example, diffusing a political debate by focusing on shared values preserves harmony. Carnegie shares anecdotes of how avoiding confrontations often leads to better results than winning arguments. The takeaway is that avoiding arguments leads to better outcomes and maintains goodwill. The second principle: show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say, "You're wrong." Encourages tactful communication. Framing disagreements diplomatically, such as, "That's an interesting perspective. Here's another way to look at it," keeps conversations respectful. Carnegie illustrates how respectful dialogue fosters understanding and reduces defensiveness. The lesson is that respecting opinions opens dialogue and builds trust. The third principle: if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically, underscores the power of humility. Saying, "You're right, I should have handled that differently," diffuses tension and earns respect. Carnegie recounts stories where admitting fault not only resolved conflict, but also enhanced credibility. The takeaway is that admitting mistakes strengthens relationships and demonstrates integrity. The fourth principle, begin in a friendly way, highlights the importance of setting a positive tone in interactions. Carnegie explains that starting with a warm demeanor disarms tension and opens the door to collaboration. For example, approaching a difficult conversation with kindness often leads to more productive outcomes. The key takeaway is that friendliness builds rapport and paves the way for mutual understanding. The fifth principle, get the other person saying yes, yes immediately, focuses on creating agreement early in a conversation. Carnegie suggests starting with questions or statements that the other person is likely to agree with to establish common ground. For example, in a negotiation, beginning with shared goals fosters cooperation. The lesson is that early agreement builds momentum toward a positive outcome. Conclusion: Dale Carnegie's principles are more than tips. They're a roadmap for meaningful relationships and effective communication. Whether you're at work, with friends, or meeting new people, these techniques can elevate your interactions. Remember, connect, appreciate, and influence with sincerity. Now it's time to put these lessons into action and transform your relationships.